At Man City Fan TV, we're really pleased to promote this wonderful sketchwork artwork by a lady called Leslie Ross. You can follow Leslie on Twitter at 111Leslie111 and also follow her on Facebook and Twitter at 9320art. Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV. I'm here with Ray.
Hi guys.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about yesterday's game, review the game, give some player ratings, and we're going to talk about just a few things that have come out from Pep's post-match press conference. Also, some of the things that have happened today, which are pretty disgusting in the Villa Birmingham game, and the reactions of some of the comments that have been made by individuals. And one in particular, Raheem Sterling, who's made a really good comment on Twitter. So, if we start off with the lineup for yesterday, we had Ederson in net, Walker right back, Company retained his place with Otamendi. We had Zinchenko retaining his place again at left back. Gundogan held in the absence of Fernandinho. We then had Bernardo Silva and David Silva ahead of them. Mahrez retained his place, which I was quite surprised with, but is giving him these opportunities now, so there's no excuses. Raheem Sterling played on the left, and Aguero kept his place ahead of Gabby Jesus, who was on the bench. Good to see Aymeric Laporte was on the bench as well, along with Fabian Delph getting his first sort of like starting on the bench. So what were your thoughts on the initial lineup?
Pretty decent. I mean, let's be honest, we're always going to put out a pretty strong team, whoever we put out. The defence, you know, I was a little surprised that John Stones didn't get a recall. But if he's still not 100% or he's just, you know, on the verges, it's better to just save him if we don't really need him. I didn't think this was a game that we needed our top first team out.
I bet you did at half time.
I know we had enough chances, you know, but it was a good team, you know. Maybe Pep's he's watching YouTube videos and he's listening to people and saying play Mahrez, play Mahrez, play Mahrez. Who knows? I doubt it. You know, I don't think Pep's really bothered about YouTube influences, and we're certainly not. You know, we're not there telling him to play Phil Foden. You know, I mean, who are we to really question him? I questioned him in his first season when we went through a bad patch. But you look at it now, and whatever he says, you can't argue with. You really can't. You know, if he said one day, I'm going to play Vincent Kompany up front, you'd scratch your head, argue with him. So it was a good team, and a team that, okay, first half aside, to win.
Okay, so looking at the first half, we had similar to the previous games. We had a couple of chances. We had... 3 or 4 chances, two of them decent. The other 2 were so-so. But if we take the first one, which was Mahrez's cross to David Silva, he just looked, if he was 2 or 3 inches taller, he might have got on the end of it. I mean, I think he was stretching like mad. His hand was, people saying, oh, it's a clear handball. I mean, I don't think it was. It skimmed his head. It might have flicked his fingers, but he couldn't get to it.
Yeah, I mean, what wouldn't we give for an extra 2 or 3 inches, mate? I mean,
speak for yourself.
But no, it was a decent cross, a great run from David. I mean, some fans are giving him a bit of stick over recent games. I think he had an in and out game for me, where he did some fantastic moves. Fantastic passes, some good runs, but there were a few where he was not the same wavelength as some of the other players. Some of his through balls were a touch heavy. But yeah,
on the David Silva thing, I mean, I said to somebody had posted on Twitter some ridiculous tweet about he's finished and needs going, and I said, you know, first half I don't think anybody covered themselves in glory, if I'm honest. Second half I thought David Silva was excellent. I thought he was nearly back to his best. He was pulling the strings, he was playing the through balls. So we'll maybe speak about each individual player at the end with the player ratings, but that was the first, you know, almost chance, and then Then we had the Bernardo cross to Sergio, which was like, oh my God. What do you think?
He should have scored. We were behind the goal, and it was like any decent contact on target. It's a goal. Sadly, it was the wrong side of the post. That would have allayed some of our fears and our worries and got rid of some of our nerves because, you know, the half was dragging on. Watford had obviously come and set their stall out. I think Pep said afterwards Andre Gray, their striker, was playing as defensive midfield. And they really didn't give any space whatsoever. They were so narrow on the pitch and so close together. Their midfield and their defence were pretty much able to shake hands. They give us no space to move, and that was their stall. And you could even see it from their lineup. I mean, when I spoke to Christian from Virginia, the guys from Virginia Blues, and he said, it was as if they'd set their stall out just to defend, left Deeney and De La Foya on the bench to come on in the second half to try and grab something, because they were. But give them credit because they did their job pretty well, and we really struggled to get behind them. I mean, that's one of our best attributes. It's what we really rely on, is getting behind the other team's defence, getting to the byline, cutting it back, and someone moves on to it and scores. And we really struggled to do that. So you've got to give them credit. You can't just say we weren't at the races or we were poor. You've got to give the other team credit because they set up with a specific plan in mind and they executed it pretty well.
Well, I mean, you can clearly see sort of the similarities with. They've obviously looked at how Bournemouth played against us last week and said, look, they threw everything behind the ball. They only beat them 1-0. And if we do that, we might, in the last 15 minutes, get a chance. And the first half, to be fair to them, their game plan worked. It's not the type of football we want to see, but that's just the way it is this day and age when teams, like City, hold on to the ball for so long. Because if they get spread around, it means they have to work harder as well as a team. So individually, they have to run around more. Where if they're more compact, they don't have to move as much around the pitch, which means they're not exerting as much energy. Because we've seen teams certainly defend well, but by the second half, 60, 70 minutes, they're absolutely knackered, and we just blow them apart. Yeah. So that unit, like Bournemouth and certainly Watford had, they don't have to run as much. So they're not exerting as much energy. So, maybe, like I said, I think I said after the Bournemouth game, maybe this is a model that managers are going to look at and go, we'll hang in there. If we can get a point, it's great. We might even hit them on the break. So first half was tough. It was a tough sort of, a tough watch. Bit frustrating. We had a couple of chances, didn't take them. But moving into the second half and early on, came to the big talking point, which was obviously the Raheem Sterling goal, the Sergio Aguero assist, and Tierney talking to the referee's assistant about the offside or not, because it was flagged offside, but he clearly changed his mind on the basis that it came off the Watford player onto Sterling. What were your thoughts on it, watching it back? I know it's difficult when we're at the ground and it's the other end of the pitch, so it's difficult to see what's going on.
It was difficult, definitely difficult, because we had no idea. We saw the ball go into the box. It looked like it was going towards Aguero. It bounced out sideways. Obviously, we couldn't tell what's happened. But my initial thought was, I can't see the ref giving this. If the linesman's called for offside, how's the ref going to overturn it? But it was obvious if you watch Twitter, if you've seen the playback on Twitter, I mean, he just asked the linesman, do you really want Liverpool to win the league?
Yeah, that was brilliant, that tweet. Really good.
But let's be honest, it wasn't a goal. It should have been offside. You hate it when it's against you. You take it when it's for you. But let's be honest enough as well. I'm not one to say who cares, because I think that's arrogance to the extreme. We'll turn around and say, look, it shouldn't have stood. It stood. And with VAR, as Pep said after the game, City voted for VAR. Other clubs didn't. We haven't got it.
Liverpool voted against it.
Well, VAR would have sorted that out probably at the second viewing, within 30 seconds.
But I think what's important is we talk about VAR would have sorted it out. Would it, as the current laws state? I think the rules. Sorry, rather than laws. I think the rules just need to be clearer because VAR might have looked at it and said, our opinion is it's offside, and the referee might have said, Paul Tierney might have said, well, that's fine, but my belief was he wasn't interfering with play at the time of the pass, but then he did come into play and the ball was played against him and went in. So this is where the problem lies between VAR might not have actually clarified that situation. But the rules need to be clarified. They're just so ambiguous, and it puts referees in awkward positions because I agree with you. I don't think it was a goal. I think it was a clear offside. He was interfering with play, and we got to be a look out of it. But teams get luck all teams get luck. It just fell for us yesterday. So
I don't like the offside rule. It makes me feel uneasy. There's too much room for this ambiguity. We grew up in a time when the offside rule was pretty simple, I think, overall, compared to it now with first phase and second phase. Are you moving towards it? Are you interfering? I mean, was it Clough or whoever it was? If you're on the pitch, you're interfering with play somehow, you know. And Raheem Sterling, by the mere fact he went towards the ball, he should have been called offside. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion with offsides is simple. I think the offside rule changed because what they tried to do was be a bit clever because of backlashes and say there's this first phase, second phase, and we want to try and give it to the attacking team to promote more goals. We're seeing hundreds of goals in the Premier League now. It's a different beast to what it used to be. And my opinion, it's only my personal opinion, is doesn't matter what side of your body is offside. Your head, your shoulder, your arm, your fingers. If you're offside when the ball is played, you're offside. It's that simple. End of story. Because if you're putting your arm forward, that means that's giving you levity to push forward as in a run, which means that's giving you your body that energy to push forward. So it's giving you an advantage. So I think if they just have a simple rule and just say, in line, VAR says any part of your body is over the line, whether it's your fingertips, anything. Forget the head rule and I can score with this part of my body. If any part of your body is over that line, you're offside. End of story. That is it. And that way, it might clear up some of this problem because this whole first phase, is he interfering? It's nonsense. It really is, because yesterday's was a nonsense decision. It shouldn't have been a goal. We'll happily take it. And even Pep came out and apologised to Watford and Gracia after the match. So that's just the way it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to the VAR, it's such an important thing to have in the Premier League. And we saw Newcastle against Everton. I mean, Rondon, or was it 4 or 5 Newcastle players were offside? Rondon miscontrolled it. Someone else comes along and sticks it in. Was it Perez? And Newcastle pick up an extra 2 points. And it was blatantly unfair on Everton. So, I'd like a simplified offside rule. And I'd like the VAR. And thankfully, we get VAR next season. And I don't think it's going to resolve everything. But I think overall, we'll get better decisions, more accurate, correct, fair decisions with VAR. It's a shame it's not in this season. Shame it wasn't in last season either. But, we're taking steps forward. It'll take time to iron out some of the issues. But as has happened, you'll still get some blunders, as has happened with other sports. But I think on the whole, we'll move forward and it'll be more accurate, correct decisions going forwards.
I think it will do, and I totally agree with you. I think it definitely needs introducing, but it won't unless the rules change. Because if the rules don't change, VAR won't overrule a rule that's already in place, and that created the ambiguity yesterday with regards to it. So I think the rule needs to be looked at, and it's a shame that it hasn't been, because they're working with VAR at the moment when cup competitions and things like that. They're working towards the introduction of it for next season. We're still not ironed out the rules, which means next season, if they don't do it over the summer and say there's a rule change and this is what we're going to do, that ambiguity will be there where VAR says, oh, by the way, ref, come and have a look at this. And the ref goes, well, yeah, but he kicked the ball up to the player, and I don't think he interfered with the play. So I'm giving the goal, which is wrong.
Yeah, but I think overall VAR is a positive step.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
The odd thing with offsides and with other decisions, but I think big, blatant, black and white errors like the Newcastle one yesterday, it'll eradicate that. And that's what, and I think, we're not sterilising the game. We're not going to end up stopping celebrating and enjoying the moment, because you saw yesterday when eventually, after about a minute and a half, we got the goal. Raheem Sterling didn't just trudge off and say thanks very much. He celebrated it, as did all the fans.
Yeah.
So
that's yeah.
It might take some of that instant explosion of joy away, but you'll still have that satisfaction. You'll still get enough joy, and it'll flow around the ground. So I'm not going to, worry about. And the people who say that's their act for not having VAR, Philistines, Dark Ages, get back there. We're moving forwards, and it's the right place to be.
Okay, so people, followers, subscribers of the channel, if you've got a comment on VAR and what we saw yesterday, I think we've established that me and Ray both said it shouldn't have stood, but we've got problems, obviously, with VAR and the rules and things like that. Comment below, what are your thoughts on it? Anyway, so that was the 1-0. It was something we needed. I don't know whether it changed the game per se, because it's always... you get the standard comments from Match of the Day pundits and Sky News Sports pundits, and they'll say, "Oh, that was the turning point in the game." Well, every first goal is the turning point. Well, let's say that didn't stand, and Raheem scored his second goal, his tap-in. That was a turning moment in the game. Did it have made any difference? Not really.
The detractors would come back and say, "Well, if you hadn't scored that first goal, what's going to happen?"
Yeah, it's nonsense. Well, put it this way: 71% possession versus 29, 19 shots versus 2, 9 shots on target versus 1, 9 corners versus 1, and 11 fouls committed by 7 for Watford. Now, those statistics didn't just happen because we scored that particular goal. It was the same statistics pretty much throughout the game until they pumped up some long balls later on in the second half when Deeney and that came on. So moving on to the second goal, very quick succession. Beautiful, lovely little bit of movement. Bernardo Silva, David Silva, the ball gets played through to Mahrez, and they just switch off to Sterling at the back post. It's a simple pullback, and he's got another tap in, and it's 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, I think Watford, they lost the ball. I think that's what did them. They lost the ball.
With Vinny.
Yeah, but I think they potentially just had it for a fraction. I mean, I might have to look at it again. And the ball got played through, and it went through their midfield. Now, maybe they were still thinking about the Sterling goal, or they weren't switched on, and it got through to the edge of their box. Got through David Silva. He put it out wide to Mahrez, as you say. Perfect ball from Mahrez. You could see Sterling, waving, asking for the ball. There was no one there. And I just think, yes, you're right. They switched off. It's hard to stay fully, in focus and concentrate for a full 90 minutes with this City team, with the amount of movement. And Sterling was still doing the same movement that he did in the first half, but I think there's more end product this time. Simple tap in. Even he couldn't miss from there.
Leads us on to the third goal, which was, I looked at it and I watched it again last night and I watched it again today. And I looked at it and I thought, you know what? If that was Lionel Messi, people would be going, oh, look at that skill. Look at that close control. Look at that little dink. Look at it. I don't think enough has been said about what a brilliant piece of trickery, skill, control, and deft touch to score his third goal. I thought it was a wonderful goal.
Everything about that goal was fantastic. Yeah. It was awesome. The pass inside the full back, the movement from Raheem Sterling, because he didn't have a lot of space and time to operate in, and the timing of his run, it just shows you how easy it is to be offside. We're talking a mere fraction of a second, if he'd gone a fraction of a second earlier, or that pass had been delayed a fraction of a second, he'd have been offside. Yeah. So you've got to get it right. So that's a tremendous skill to get that right, and to have that technique and ability to stay onside. And then, the way he kind of pulled inside the first defender, sidestepped the second, lifted it over Ben Foster. And I think Foster got his hand to it, and that's the best he could do. But it was a fabulous, fabulous goal. And actually, I mean, Sterling, when you look at it, the movement he had, there was another opportunity as well where it was actually called offside, and I don't think he was that bothered afterwards once it had been called offside. But there was another ball I dinked through. I can't remember if it was Gondon or whoever it was, and Sterling chested it. But you could probably see then
tried to flick it over his head.
The lineup put his flag up, and so Sterling didn't bother after that. But he was actually onside, so it is very, very difficult. So he's making these beautiful, perfect runs. The timing on them is impeccable on most occasions, and he thoroughly deserved that hat trick. It was a very, very good hat trick, in all honesty.
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously, people will argue it wasn't a hat trick because it shouldn't have been first goal and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, he's on absolute fire at the moment, and lots of articles in the press today and comments last night in the media will say that probably Sterling has gone to the top of the Player of the Year list on the back of that. And of course, we can all argue with the fact of, there's Virgil van Dijk, and everyone has a love him with Van Dijk, and fair play to him. He has been superb. But a lot of journos at the moment are thinking that hat trick has projected him to the top of the list of Player of the Season, ahead of Van Dijk and Aguero.
It's really, really very interesting, because even now, if you go to City fans and ask them who's the Player of the Season, I bet you'll say Bernardo Silva.
Me?
Yeah.
If I had to take a player over the season, Bernardo Silva for me.
That's my feeling. That's what I'd say as well. A lot of other City fans would say the same. The ones I speak to, they still say Bernardo Silva. Even yesterday.
Brilliant. He was brilliant again. In the second half again, he was brilliant.
Yeah. In the first half, he was good. Second half, he was brilliant. First half, he was a guy you felt could make something happen. And I actually said to the fellow next to me, and I said to him, we were winning 3-0, and Bernardo had that through, and the goalie it hit the goalkeeper. He was trying to lob it over him, and it hit him rather than he made a save. And I said to the fellow next to me, I said, "Who's your man of the match?" And he said, "Well, the guy who scored 3 goals." But we did agree, if Bernardo had scored that goal, we'd have given it him, because he was the guy who I felt was influencing the game the most. Sterling scored the goals. I mean, you can argue the first one was lucky, the second one was a tap-in, third one was a brilliant piece of skill. But I felt Bernardo, for me anyway, was influencing the game more than anybody else. The effort he was putting in, the crosses he was putting in, the trickery, absolutely fun.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Premier League stats in particular, Aguero's still top with 18, Kane on 17, Salah 17, Aubameyang yet to play today, 16, Mane's on 16.
I'm waiting for it.
Raheem Sterling's 15. So he's on 15. So he's only 3 behind Aguero. But if you look at the assists, Hazard's on 11. Ryan Fraser's on 10. Eriksen's on 9. Pogba's on 9. Leroy Sané's on 9. Raheem Sterling's on 9. So he's joint third. And he is, 1, 2, 3. He's fourth in theory. Premier League, and this is for a winger. This is somebody who plays out and out on the wing. So, I can't take it away. I mean, I only picked Bernardo Silva because of impact. If you had to take stats, I would take Raheem Sterling over Sergio Aguero. I really would, and that's saying something because I've pushed for Aguero every single season. But I just think for impact and improvement and energy and everything else that's been given to the team this season, I think Bernardo Silva has, especially when we've missed Kevin De Bruyne, has really stepped up and took that whole energy, that creativity to another level. Not from De Bruyne, but without Kevin De Bruyne in the team, and without him, I think we would have really missed quite a lot, and I don't think we would be where we are in the table without that energy and that endeavour and creativity that he's brought this season.
I think the interesting thing we talk about the player of the season. The interesting thing is going to be when they release that 5 shortlist. It's going to be anytime soon.
Next week, I think. Next week is it? I think.
And you've got to say, where Aguero kind of has been let down in the past, he's been injured. He's not on people's minds at the time. Now he's in everybody's mind. I think the people who don't watch City, the people who just watch bits and pieces, they'll probably still go for Aguero or Sterling. And
yeah, without a shadow of.
It's like the people.
They'll go on stats. They'll go on looking at stats. Goals and assists and everything else. Yeah.
But even those people, a lot of people said, "Oh yeah, Bernardo Silva didn't get much game time last season, and Pep didn't like." He played the most number of games for last season, even though he might have had cameo appearances here and there. He was playing the most number of actual games.
Yeah.
And I think, but what might hurt a City player's chances of winning it, I suspect, is if you got Aguero, if you got Sterling, and if you've got Bernardo Silva on the short list of 6, and you've got one Liverpool player in Virgil van Dijk.
Separating the votes.
And I can see the vote being split.
Yeah.
But regardless, let's be clear. Virgil van Dijk has made a big difference to Liverpool.
Oh, huge.
Very hard for a defender to win it. But if you've got one Liverpool player, 3 City players, it's going to be tough. But Aguero is Aguero. And I feel I'm slighting him to even consider that Sterling and Bernardo have had a better season than Sergio. I mean, but you got to say Sterling is getting a goal or assist every single game.
But if I'll put it to this, and I do this with other fans of other clubs, so I have to be objective and I have to be not opinionated and biased towards City. But how many penalties has Sergio Aguero scored out of those 18 compared to Raheem Sterling's 15 goals in the Premier League?
This is what I always would say with the striker. I always say this when people talk about strikers' numbers, and I've done it for years, is take away the penalties. If your man's taking penalties and free kicks, take them away. Let's see what his impact is. Okay, you can argue the free kicks are still something special. I mean, when Yaya used to score his free kicks, I would never.
Yeah. So I don't think either of us are dissing on Sergio. Not at all. I mean, I would love nothing more because Raheem Sterling's got years to and Sergio Aguero's been so unjustly, not picked in as player of the season in years gone by. I'd love nothing more than Sergio to get it this season. Yeah. But when we talk about when you're at the games and you go home and away in Europe and see these players and you sort of look at them and you think, who's had the biggest impact? Then, there's always going to be people, and rightly so, say, well, goals win games and assists win games and Bernardo's nowhere near Sterling. And that's absolutely right. Absolutely correct. So if it goes on facts of if that's what you want to say, then for me, Sterling probably on his goals and assists is ahead of Sergio, even though I want Sergio to win it desperately. But if you ask me honest opinion, who I think has been the best all-round player at this moment in time, and that might change because if Sterling goes on to score another 5-10 goals before the end of the season, has another 5 assists, then there'd be no denying that. Or Sergio goes and scores another 10 and ends up with 28-30 goals and we win the league. I still think Bernardo Silva, for me, has been a revelation this year in the team. But it's subjective. It's all opinion-based, so there's no point in arguing about it. But
at least they're in that discussion, and that's fantastic to see. At least
Yeah, absolutely. So Pep was asked in his post-match conference, obviously post-match on was it BT or whoever was showing it? He said that he apologised to Watford and that about the goal and everything else, and he did say about the VAR, and we're one club who have actually wanted it, where the likes of others who we know are Liverpool and several other big high-profile clubs that don't want it at all, and I wonder why. It was nice to see a manager actually come out, not make any excuses, and I suppose it's easy when you win to do that, but he does that all the time. He doesn't blame refs, and he's quite open and honest. But then he was asked in his press conference about the rumours around Juventus that. It was in the papers, the Sunday papers yesterday morning, Saturday morning. So what were your thoughts on the rumours and his response to the Juventus claim that he's verbally agreed to join them in the summer?
Well, I can't repeat my comments on this channel, my exact comments, but it had something to do with my arse.
Started in F and ended in F.
Yeah, but it had my arse in the middle, yeah. There was not even 1% of truth in that story. And the sad thing is, we've seen it with FFP, we've seen it with many things. Somebody comes out with this half-cocked story, everybody jumps on it because they don't want to be left behind. They don't check the veracity, they don't check anything. Some of the, quite a lot of them, I think some of the print media, especially, or the online stuff, just get it out there, and then it snowballs from nothing into something. Yeah. And someone did say to me, say it on Twitter, I saw on my timeline, how much do the betting companies have a hand in some of these rumours? Because suddenly the rumour of Pep going to Juventus, being their next manager, suddenly tumbled and he was favourite, So you always have to have a bit of caution to who's coming up with these rumours and why are they doing it. Because you get some mug punters who'll say, "Oh yeah, he's favourite. Let's just go in there."
Well, I think when I read the stories first yesterday, when I got up, it's claimed by some source who claimed that Ronaldo would leave Real Madrid to Juventus. So straight away you're thinking, "Oh, there's a Juventus link here somewhere." But when I read the article, it said, a source of the source who said that Ronaldo would go to Juventus has claimed that. Mate. It's like, what? His cousin's brother who works behind the bar in the local pub said it was one of those, and just thought, oh, Jesus Christ, this is embarrassing. But, like you said, it gets clicks and people just copy it and put it out there.
A source of a source. It's more HP or Heinz, Zaddy Brown sauce. It's a load of rubbish. Yeah. When Pep said, when it was put to him, once he denied it and said, I've got 2 more years more left on my contract, I'm happy here, I might even stay longer. Yeah. And if they sack me, I'm staying. And then it was put to him that the same source that had got the Ronaldo rumour right, and he said, well, he's got 1 out of 2.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Put it to bed. And all these, I understand some of the journalists. I understand it. I mean, we're not bona fide journalists as such. Not at all. Not at all.
I'm certainly not.
No, but when I see some rumours, I just ignore them. I don't even give them any credibility, and I don't even bother because sometimes they're so ridiculous, so absurd, and the source is so unreliable that you just totally ignore them. And this is one of those, totally ignored it. I can see why some of the journalists have to come out and say something and ask the question, because they don't want to be the ones to be left behind. They don't want to be like us and just ignore it, and then it comes true just on that really, really off chance. I mean, without any, I remember there was a rumour about Dybala coming to City for 100 million that he was offered to us. It was so preposterous in my mind, I just totally ignored it. But there were people out there asking the question, doing videos, he's coming to City, load of rubbish. And when pushed, they actually admit, okay, it wasn't, probably true. It was very, very unlikely, and try to have a laugh about it. Well, you're peddling what, even if you believe it's untrue, why are you promoting it? Why are you pushing it?
Because it's group dynamics. It's the fact of, we're pack animals and we don't want to be left aside. We like to stick together because things are safer in groups. So if we're all wrong, then we're all wrong. But if you're on the outside and you're the one that's wrong, then everyone looks at you. It's that type of mentality with journalism, certainly in particular, in my opinion. But let's have a look at the. Let's quickly go through the lineup for yesterday and provide the followers with some play ratings because we're going to do this and then we're going to sort of wrap up and have one last sort of thing about what's happened today. So if we go through the lineups for yesterday, Edison.
Well, I'll give this caveat to start with. I've not watched the game again. I tried to watch it on Match of the Day. I fell asleep. Tried to watch it this morning. Then my kids got up.
I watched it last night. So
I only watched it live as it was happening. So Edison, I'll give him a 7, 7.5 maybe if I'm being generous. He made a save. He was as cool as a cucumber, and we were. I mean, you can tell that the old fellow next to me was. He's been following City for 50, 60 years, and he said, "Now I don't worry at all about Edison. I still have kittens." You can see and you can hear other fans screaming, "Kick, kick, kick, kick!" But he's so cool. He's so calm. And he makes you feel cool and calm as well. So I'm swayed between a 7 and a 7.5 because I thought he didn't have a lot to do with his feet. Again, fantastic.
Okay, well, we normally say, or you normally say that, unless it's anything magnificent or incredible, they normally get a 7. Unless they do anything absolutely stupid, they might drop a mark or 2 or 3, whatever. Or if they do something incredible once or twice or 3 times, they might get an 8. So on that level, you're giving him
I'll give him a 7.5.
Okay, I'll give him a 7. I'll give him a 7. He didn't do anything wrong, didn't do anything brilliant. So apart from, as brilliant as he normally is every week, that's the thing. Kyle Walker.
I'm going to give Kyle Walker, I'm not going to give him a 7. I'm just tossing up between a 6 and a 6.5. I'm generous today. I'll give him a 6.5 because very, very early on, he committed 2 fouls. Within 5 minutes, he had a yellow card. Now, there was a lot of pressure put on the ref to give him that yellow card after the second foul, which I don't believe the ref was going to give.
I didn't think it was. I thought it was a bit early. Could have given another foul or 2. I didn't think it warranted it. I
don't care what minute of the game it is. If the goal is
you always say that.
Yeah, but if the goal is wasting time in the first minute, what's the difference?
But then they had fouls that could easily have been yellow cards early on as well.
I never saw them, but I think after the second foul, okay, the ref wasn't going to give it. It was up and down, but he put himself in that position to get that yellow card, and he had the rest of the game where you could see he wanted to try harder to get the ball when there was a attacker receiving it. But he restrained himself because he was worried about getting another booking. So forgetting that early yellow card, I'll give him a 6.5.
Okay, well, I would have given a 6.5, 7 normally, 6.5 because of the yellow card. But I thought he redeemed himself. I thought in the second half he was attacking really strong and made some brilliant runs. So he gets an extra half for me. So he goes back to a 7. Vinny Company.
Vinny. I thought he initially got fouled on their goal. I saw that on the highlights as I was leaving the ground. It looked like he was eased off by Dini. Dini may have just got up there earlier.
He backed in and used his usual, stick your ass out, and if you can't get over me, that's not my problem type of challenge.
Overall, I mean, the defence didn't have a lot to do. I'll give Vinny 6.5.
Okay, well, I'll give him a 7. I thought he won plenty of headers. So moving on to Otamendi.
I've got to dock Otamendi a point here because for their goal, couldn't believe it. Vinny got out muscled or whatever. Otamendi just put his arms up, let it run. I don't know what for. I mean, look.
I've got an inkling why he did that.
He thought maybe it's Zinchenko. I don't know. He should have just leathered that ball. Maybe he didn't get a call, but he should take control of the situation. Yeah. If he's letting it run, I'm just saying, if he's letting it run, he doesn't know what's behind. Either he doesn't suspect what's behind him. Now it's either up to somebody else to tell him, or for him to say, "I don't know what's happening. I mean, how many times have you seen it when a cross has come in and there's no attacker there and the defender just puts it out because he's not sure? So I'd have just said, don't take the risk, leather it. So I'm going to dock him a point for that. I'm a harsh
6. So it's a 6 from you.
6. The way I look at it, leather it in the stands, no goal.
You've won me round, so I'll go with you. I'll give him a 6 because of it. Which leads on to Zinchenko.
Same difference, mate. You know, Deulofeu was free. He shouldn't have been free. You can't rely on you should rely on your teammates doing the business, but you can't rely. You've got to anticipate a mistake, and you should be following your man in. So I'll give him a 6 as well.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm going to give him a 6.5 because I actually thought he was very valuable going forwards with Raheem, because what Raheem could do, Zinchenko being there and going out wide and actually playing like a left winger allowed Raheem to come inside. So when Raheem come inside and we were going forwards, Zinchenko would go outside. And the defenders, that's pulling them here and there. So I'll give him an extra half mark because going forwards, that's what I like about him. And I think that's his major contribution to City, is that going forwards. And look, if he can get just a little bit better at defending and be more consistent and more aware of what's going on around him, I don't see why he's going to go anywhere from City. So I'll give him a 6.
Well, I'll give him a 7. He was going to get a 6 because I personally think he was partially to blame for the goal. He left Deulofeu completely switched off. You can argue all you like between Otamendi's body movement but that run there should have been tracked by Zinchenko, and he was 10 yards behind him when the ball came through. And yes, Otamendi should have just blasted it over the bar and into the crowd. But I thought it certainly in the first half in particular, he was the one that was getting down that left-hand side. He was the one committing their defenders, and he did it again in the second half. So he'll get that point back for me. He'll get a 7, but I agree with you. He's not a natural left back. He's learning this role, and he's done exceptionally well. He's done absolutely brilliant. But like all defenders, they have that moment where they switch off for a second, and that's the time. The best defenders don't do it that often, and he's done it a few times. But we'll give him the benefit of that because he's been so great for us lately. Moving into holding midfield, we had Gundogan back again.
I don't know about Gundogan. I mean, sometimes you're so far away from the action, and he's such a small guy. He kind of gets lost. But I'm going to give him a 7 because I don't think he was terrible. I think he put some nice dinked balls into the box. But if one had led to a goal, I'd have given him more marks. So I think he had a decent enough game. So it's a 7 from me.
Okay, 7 from me as well. I think same argument. Some crap balls, but some very good balls, and kept the ball moving, which I like. So he gets a 7 from me. Bernardo Silva.
How high can you go when a guy doesn't score a goal? I'm going to give him an 8.5. I'm going to give him an 8.5 because, as I think I said to you, he's like a wasp. He's really buzzing, or a bee buzzing about. He's darting here and there, all over the place. He's putting the effort, and you can see, he is closing people down. He's winning that ball back. He's blocking passes and clearances, and then you turn it around and you see the fabulous play he does as well going forwards. That cross to Aguero, which Aguero should have scored from. That burst that he had where he hit the keeper when he tried to lob him. Absolutely fabulous performance for me. Okay.
Well, I'm going to be harsh, and I'm going to give him an 8. I'm not going to give him an 8.5 because I'm just going to stick to your principles that, unless you do a brilliant assist or you score a goal, then you give him a 7. Well, I'll give him an 8 because you know how much I love Bernardo Silva. So he gets an 8 from me. I thought he was absolutely wonderful. David Silva.
David Silva, I'll give him a 7.5. As I said, in the first half, it was mixed. It was a mixed bag. I don't think, like you said, anybody did themselves any favours, really, overall. 1 or 2 were decent, but I don't think David was brilliant in the first half. You could see a couple of passes overhit. on the different wavelengths to some of the other players. Second half, he did that pass to Mahrez. I think he did the pass to Raheem for the third goal. And he obviously affected the game and the outcome and the result a lot more in the second half. So I think he deserves a 7.5.
Well, he gets an 8 from me. And that's no bias because he's my favourite player. I just thought he influenced, he stepped up. First half, I agree. I think he was a little bit in and out. And I like the all-worthy were just the passes were too short or too long. And second half, I thought he totally controlled that midfield. He kept that ball moving. And finally, he was able to pick those, wonderful balls behind the back and through their defence. And I think that was the key that we were missing in the first half. So he gets an 8 from me, which leaves us on to Riyad Mahrez on the right, who's kept in. How do you think Riyad Mahrez did yesterday?
He got an assist.
It's got to be an 8 then if he's got an assist. That's a 7 for average and 1 for an assist.
I'll give. Let me think about it. The first half, let's be honest, he didn't cover himself with any glory.
On the spot.
No.
The spot.
The number. I haven't got a number in my head yet. I thought he was average in the first half. He had that one cross, which David Silva was just fractionally too high. But everybody else, he didn't do much in that first half. He didn't do much at all. And honestly, when we were talking to the fans at halftime, they said either get Sane on for Sterling or Mahrez. So on the first half, I'd have been giving him a 5. Second half, I think it obviously helped that we were winning and the space is open. Whereas Watford were really compact. Now they had to change the game and they, more of their midfield moved into midfield rather than sticking defence. Created space for David and for Mahrez. Second half, I think he did better. I'm going to overall, I'm a harsh man sometimes. I'll give him 6.5 because I don't think he had a good first half. He got that assist. Look, mate, in the first half, I think he should have scored in injury time.
Should have scored.
Put around the ball. So, on average, I'm saying the first half I was going to only give him a 5. The second half, I give him an 8. On average, 6.5.
Okay. Well, I'll give him a 7. Agree. First half, he had a couple of, played a great, wonderful ball in for David Silva. But that's not discounting the number of times he lost the ball when he was running in and then passing at the first player. And he wasn't the only one to blame. Sterling was doing exactly the same. So I agree, the two wide players in particular, Mahrez and Sterling in the first half, I thought were poor. I thought that both of them were poor. I thought Sterling was poor in the first half. In the second half, I thought, he created more, but still kept giving the ball away, and that's the frustrating part. But he was in the right position to pick that ball up and play that lovely ball across to Sterling for his tapping on his right foot. So I'm going to give him a 7, and that's at the top end. But it's great to see him getting on the assists, and it's great to see him in a league team and at least trying something a little bit different, even though he's still got areas he needs to really improve on. Which leads me to Sergio Aguero.
He worked hard, very hard.
It's like you give him every game 9 out of 10 for
effort,
for work rate.
Okay, let's go on my principle. Start at 7, missed open goal header, lose a point. That would have made a big difference to be down to 6, Sergio. Work your socks off, back up to 7. Second half, he had a great opportunity where he took, I think, at least 3 players on. I'm struggling between 7 and 7.5 for Sergio because I like him, which is less than objective. I'll give him a 7.5.
Well, that was my score. I gave him 7.5. I thought, for all the reasons you said, but his work rate gave him that pushed, even though he didn't get assists. All right, he got the assist for the goal for Sterling's first one. I don't know whether we can call it assist because it shouldn't have been a goal, but I'll give him a 7.5 as well because his work rate at the moment, he's got to, it's stupid saying it. He's on 18 goals, but he's he's got to start banging in a few against these teams, and we've got Fulham up in a few weeks' time after the international break. I'm hoping he can bang in 1 or 2 goals there, especially when you think those 2 hat-tricks against those 2 teams, and you think, we've just had Bournemouth, we've just had Watford, and the chances that he's missed. But I'll give him a 7.5 because he's working his absolute nuts off for the team, and you can't ask for much more than that. Which leads me to Raheem Sterling.
Raheem Sterling. I might be a bit harsh on him, but I think for the first half, I think he made the good runs, but he made some bad decisions as well. And I'd be around 5.5, 6 for his first half performance. Second half, you couldn't have asked for any more. Even if you take that first goal away, I mean, his contribution was immense. He was there where he had to be for the second goal. Third goal was, like we've said, that was almost Messi-esque level. And trying to the fellow next to me as well, it was late on in the game. There was a cross put across the box, and I think Sergio had ended up out on the left.
He was.
If Sterling was there, he'd have tapped that in because he knows where to be. And then you say, that's why we're missing him. So his second half performance, with that other chance that he had to score as well, where he was called offside when he wasn't, I couldn't give him any less than 10 for that second half.
Wow.
Well, look, a guy scores 3 goals, could have had more, and he only played 15 minutes of the second half.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So overall, now that's his second half. Overall, I'm going to give him an 8.5 because, obviously 6 and 10 is 16 and it should be 8, but 8.5 because he was the difference.
All right, so not a 10.
I'm not. The 10 was for his second half.
Right. Okay.
I'm giving him an 8.5 overall because I wanted more from him in the first half. And as Pep said at the end, when there were, I think one of the journalists was really, singing Raheem Sterling praises, and Pep said, "Did you see him in the first half? He's got a lot of improvement to do. That first half wasn't good." So I'll give him 8.5 because he was, at the end of the day, the main difference between the sides.
Okay, well, I've got to give him a 9. Simple. Work on 7. Poor first half, like many of them had. 6. Scores 3. It's a 9. So even though the first one wasn't off, I think it wasn't just that he had 2 or 3 of the chances which he affected play, and also like you said, one was offside which actually wasn't. So for me, he was my man of the match. Who was yours?
Yeah,
I think you give 2 players an 8.5. So
I'll go with Sterling purely because he scored those 2 goals. I'm discounting the first one, but he was there in the right place. As I said, I think if Bernardo had scored that great burst that he'd done through, if he'd scored that, he'd have got a 9 from me, and I think that would have edged it in his favour. But look, Raheem scored the goals. You can't take that away from him.
Nope. That's fair enough. Well, we had 3 subs. Phil Foden we're not going to talk about. He came on. Gabby came on, and so did Leroy Sané. I think it's hard with Gabby because it wasn't that many. He came on the 80th minute, but Sané got 30 minutes with the added time. So, what were your thoughts on Leroy Sané?
I think he did all right. I think he had one good free kick. He
should have scored. Should have scored with that ball through, and he hit the side netting.
Well, actually, there was the one where he should have passed. He should have passed it inside.
And he should have passed. And I don't know who it was on the pitch was going mental at him about not passing it.
Saying to the fellow next to me, I said I think
it was Gundogan was going crazy, going he should have squared.
Yeah, I can see why he shot, but you've got to shoot across the keeper. If you're going to shoot across the keeper, or be more aware of your teammates. But I said to the fellow next to me, he's going to shoot. I said just before he shot, he's going to shoot, even though there's a man there waiting for the tap-in. And, the fans agreed that was a wrong option. It was a greedy option. Having said that, if that was Aguero, you let him off because he's your striker. He's done all this.
I'll be honest with you. Let's be objective about that. If that was Mahrez, we'd be having a go at him and turn around and say, "See, you're greedy. You should have squared it." Same principles.
That's what I said. He should have passed it.
Yeah.
And for that bit of greed, if he hits the target, you can't argue. If he hits it across the keeper makes a good save, you can't argue. If he'd squared it, I think it would have been a tap-in. And for that moment, I'll give him a 6.5. You've got to dock him something.
I'll give him a 6 for those two reasons. One, I thought it was a poor shot, and like I said, if that was Mahrez in that position on his left foot, we'd all be calling him if he put it into the side netting. And the second one, where he should have squared it for a simple tap-in. If that was Mahrez, we'd be going mental, saying, how bloody greedy, you're only thinking of yourself. Yeah, you should have squared it. So I thought there were two poor decisions there by Sane. But saying that, he did bring that, it was just that little something, that little spark where he got the ball and you think, and we know what he's like, and we just need him to get back to that. Maybe he will now. Now he's been dropped for a few games, and Pep's clearly got into him and basically said, if you're not doing it, you're not in the team, and that's it, mate. So your choice. It's over to you. So hopefully he brings that little bit of spark, because we have been missing it. We have been missing that little bit of something. And that's not a dig at Mahrez at all. That is not a dig at Mahrez. I'm just that little bit of something, that little bit of pace, that little bit of, strength and energy. And I think we've just been missing it, and we've been sort of lacking and a bit uneven on both sides. So
if KDB's going to play with David Silva, then I want Bernardo on the right, Sterling on the left. If KDB's not going to be playing, then I want Bernardo on the side, Sterling on the right, Sane on the left. The thing is, I say to my kids, if you start off really, really well, it's very hard to lose faith in somebody quickly. If you start off really badly, it's very hard to put faith in somebody quickly. And I think that's the difference between Sane and Mahrez. Sane started really well. He's an overall. He's got a lot of credit in the bank, and it's going to take a lot of for that to be an issue.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it's a point that we all know, if we really look at ourselves and go, yeah, but look what he's done. And I've said it in the past when I've stuck up for Sane and Sterling, and when people have said, oh, but Mahrez has got 10 assists, 10 this and 10. And I said, yeah, but look at what they've done in the, so it's a good point. He has got something in the bank, but it's not going to last forever. And certainly not with Pep. So he's got to start. He's got to, certainly in this run now, with all these games coming up, he's going to get game time, and he's got to step up. He really needs to step up and start showing his worth again in the team. Which leads me on to the final thing of today before we close, and that is obviously we saw the images and the videos of the Birmingham versus Aston Villa game, where absolutely disgraceful scenes of that fan. And this is not new. This is something that over the last 3-4 weeks has become in Scottish football and English football and whatever else. It's rearing its head, and it's nasty and it's ugly and it's quite frankly pathetic. And we saw the fan came on. Jack Grealish had his back turned to him, and he run over and he swung around from behind and caught him in the face and pushed him. Jack Grealish went to the ground. Police quickly arrested him, which he marched him off the field with the stewards, and he's waving and giving it all this to the Birmingham fans. What were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on that actual incident?
On the incident, mate, look, it was disgusting and deplorable, and I don't want it to go back to the bad old days where fans are in cages and behind fences and treated like animals. But you've got idiots who are going to end up pushing for that. And you're going to have Birmingham now probably a hefty fine. I don't think they'll get a points deduction. I don't think that's fair. But I think they'll get a hefty fine. They might get part of the stadium closed. I don't know. I think that's really unfair on the rest of the fans. Obviously, the guy's a deplorable coward. He came from the back. Didn't even get a good shot in. Pretty pathetic. I don't know how he got on so easily. The stewards, maybe, obviously they're going to look at that as an issue. The way he was waving and kissing towards the fans, and the fans were cheering, you could hear the Birmingham fans. It doesn't make them any much better than him for cheering someone's deplorable actions. Disgusting. And it's a worry because, I mean, you might mention, I think you're going to mention about the Raheem Sterling angle on this, but it is worrying that, I can't remember who said, but social media, I think it was Guillaume Balaguer, that social media and people's behaviour on social media and their vitriol and their abuse that they so happily and freely give on social media is now rearing its ugly head in actual real life. And that's a worry.
Well, we saw what happened next when Grealish sort of opened the scoring for Villa, running to the sort of stanchion area, the barricades, the
jumped over.
He was celebrating, and actually a Birmingham FC steward allegedly assaulted him, whether that was a knee or a punch or whatever, but the cameras panned back with the police who were there, what looked like frog marching the steward out of the ground as well. Whether they were, we don't know. We don't know. Whether they were just moving him away from the melee or whatever, I don't know. But you saw Grealish look at the steward as if to say, have you just punched me or kicked me or something? And there was that. So we don't know what's happened. Could have been nothing. So
I think he was pushing him back onto the pitch, whether it was an open hand or I don't know. I think we do need to know more about it.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
We knew what happened. The second guy, we need to know more.
Yeah. Police were quite heavy-handed though with the steward, so I don't know whether they were moving him away.
Yeah.
As for his safety, or whether something did happen, and I'm sure we'll find out more about that. So, but leads us on to the very final, last minute, and that is, it was great to see Raheem Sterling tweeted not so long ago, and we'll put this up on screen now so you can see it. And this says, "Karma at its best. Well done, Jack Grealish." And then there was obviously the image of Grealish's goal. So, what are your thoughts on that, Ray?
Yeah, it's great for Raheem because obviously, let's be quite honest and clear, Raheem has been probably one of the most abused players in the last few years, ever since he left Liverpool. The media certainly haven't helped. Whipping up this storm and this frenzy, and I think they helped to contribute to this vile atmosphere. I'm as far to go as rabid or rabid, or it depends how you want to pronounce it. It's the foaming at the mouth from the fans, and the papers with their, I'm going to say it, racist undertones and prejudiced articles about Raheem. They've built that up. So, and I'm sure this stuff in Birmingham about Grealish, and there'll be other players here and there. So they've been targeted, and I'd hoped that when Sterling came out on Instagram, I think it was, or social media, and said after the abuse he got at Chelsea, with whatever that said, that some more in the media would, I'm trying to pick my words here, would criticise their colleagues for what they've done. But I can see that's not going to happen. Because
it certainly, it's not a discussion for today, but it certainly hasn't happened. You're right. They haven't spoken out per se about some of the articles. They've sort of, everyone's pushed up on it. And I do think that media have been a little bit more fair now with Raheem Sterling, but sometimes it's one of those when it got to the point of where it did, and it took until the likes of Raheem Sterling spoke out, you sort of take some of their nice comments now in sort of a pinch of salt and a bit of, and how much of that is really the truth, or are you doing it just? And that's a shame because I'm sure a lot of those journalists are saying it for the right reasons. But it does, as a City fan, as a football fan, and when we've been talking about Raheem Sterling now for nearly 12 months, not since the Chelsea incident. We've been talking about it for 12 months, and everything that happened at the World Cup and everything last summer. Then when they come out and it's this nice, Raheem's this, Raheem that, and you think, are you just saying that? Is that a little bit of giving back because of what you took before and that type of thing? So but it was great to see, Raz come out in support of a fellow player, because I mean that that was pretty disgusting today. Yeah. And there's no place for it, not even in the stands, never mind on a football pitch, to players who are just trying to earn a living, playing football for fun. Well, for the fun of fans and things. It was just awful to see.
I mean, I would say this to the fans. You
have to be quick because we're wrapping up.
You got minutes. Go on Instagram. Go and have a look at Raheem Sterling's timeline and see all the footballers, actual professional footballers, who are congratulating him on his game yesterday and everything else, because he is one of the most loved footballers around. So I think that wraps us up.
Yeah, I mean, anybody within football themselves, footballers and, players and manager, everyone who's been in contact with him, I've got nothing but, and always have, I've got nothing, not a bad word to say about him. It just seems that certain journalists in the past, should be ashamed of themselves still today. But anyway.
I think my last point is, can you tell me where Raheem Sterling is, please?
Yeah, right, he's top of the league, mate. Still.
Do for me.
Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I mean, it's been a long one, but if you've got your thoughts on the things we spoke about the players' performance yesterday, the 3-1 win against Watford. We gave you the player ratings, mine and Ray's. Whether you agree with them or not, please, it's your opinion. Give us a comment below the video. We spoke about Pep and the nonsense articles that have come out with regards to Juventus and all that crap. And then we spoke about this horrible incident with Jack Grealish and the fan coming on the pitch and punching him from behind, and then the incident with the steward that we don't know much about at this moment in time, but then sort of Raheem's comments backing Jack Grealish and how karma comes around. Then comment below the video. What are your thoughts on it? Anyway, this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. I'm here with Ray. Ray, thanks, mate.
Cheers.
And we'll see you tomorrow for more videos. I'm going. Oh, just one last thing. I'm going to Manchester tomorrow morning. I'm going to take all the artwork to the Tackle for Manchester. Meet up with those to pass it over, and they're going to take it to the Etihad at some point this week coming, and then it'll be arranged. All the artwork will be arranged to be signed by the various players, and then we'll arrange for me to be able to pick it up. I don't know when. I've no idea. It could be into next week. Sometimes these things take a bit of time, but I think once the Schalke game is finished, we then go into the international break. The problem you've got there is players could be bombing off all over the place. So fingers crossed, after the Schalke game or before it, we might get those artworks signed back to us by the end of next week. If not, it could be another week or two. But don't forget, get your bids in. Like I said, if you follow myself or Ray on Twitter, mine is at Aviation Blue. Ray is at ManCity_Ray. You can follow the bids, the current bids that are there at the moment by people. And if you want to bid, don't forget, you need to contact us below the video, but also you need a Twitter account. We need to confirm your account to confirm your bid. That's out there. And the highest bidder, 48 hours after we've received the signed prints back, we'll send them to you wherever you are in the world, and all the money will be donated to Tackle for Manchester, which is Vincent Company's charity to tackle homelessness in the Manchester region. So anyway, this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.